Next up, we have a much less nice person, Pepe Pinochet. Whenever you're ready.
Oh, wonderful.
Hi, Vaush. So,
I'm ready to have a very
yeah,
nuanced and respectful discussion of my political positions.
all right. Well, so you make some points where I guess I can kind of agree with you. Like, you just let trans people exist, and there's no reason to stop gay people from existing. All that, but which I largely agree with. Now, when it comes to freedom of association, both on a micro and a macro level, what are your thoughts on that?
Freedom of association is a euphemism. You already have the right to associate with whom you choose. What it really means
Yeah.
is, do I have the right to ban certain races or ethnicities or nationalities of people from occupying certain cities, states,
Bingo.
countries? So you're a coward for using the euphemism. What you should have asked me is, how do you feel about the construction of an ethno-state? To which my obvious answer is no.
Oh, okay, sure, yeah. Well, no, I don't really think of in terms of ethno states. So, like for example, a country like Belarus, almost completely fucking white. Now, if they only wanted their people to continue living there and just didn't let in immigrants for the most part, I don't really see that being that big of a deal. I mean, they're not putting people in camps or rounding people up by the millions and deporting them. I mean, I would say there's that kind of ethno state. I'm fine with.
There can be
But
legitimate
even
economic reasons to curtail immigration under some circumstances, though generally speaking, immigration tends to be a pretty positive force for the countries people are immigrating to, especially in a country of Belarus, which, as I understand it, has the GDP of one turnip sitting on a pedestal.
oh sure.
They could benefit from the labor they get brought in. If the reason immigration is being curtailed is because there's some sincere like economic justification, or like during COVID, like closing the borders, stuff like that. Okay. But if it's like the idea of keeping some kind of racially homogenous population, I think that's extremely gay and cringe.
Well, can you tell me what is necessarily wrong with it if that's what they choose and they choose to live with the economic consequences? Why? What are they're not necessarily hurting anybody?
They're hurting people, absolutely, because they're denying people
How?
the opportunity to travel freely. We're born on
It's
one
not their
earth.
country.
It doesn't, I don't care. You're talking to a socialist. I don't care. Their country is. Countries are lines drawn on maps to describe
Yeah.
political jurisdiction. We are born
Oh.
to one earth. The idea that because of a person's
Hmm.
skin tone, they should be disallowed from going around the world, that there are parts of the world, people and places they may never see, restaurants they may never get fat at, just because of their skin tone, it's an abomination to me. And I'll need a better justification than because the home population is racist, because I've never considered that a particularly good argument for anything.
Oh, sure. Well, I mean, just because if you value what is, the collective identity of both your ethnic group and the values of that ethnic group, and you just don't want there to be any kind of ethnic tension, and you don't want the culture to change.
Culture will always change, and
Yes,
ethnic
it always
tension.
changes. I knew you were going to say that.
Oh,
But
okay, you caught me there. But
but
ethnic
of course,
tension.
that's going to definitely help. That's definitely going to bring upon change. You can't have immigrants into a country without them causing some kind of change. I think even you know that.
Well, if change is inevitable, then I don't see any reason to avoid it. American culture has been enriched tremendously through the presence of our non-white brethren. In fact, American culture is almost
Oh,
entirely defined by them. Um, so I don't, from an American perspective, I have a very positive attitude towards the cultural changes associated with immigration. Ethnic tension as well. There are no countries in the world right now that don't have ethnic tension. That's the problem
mm,
with tribalism. Even if you don't have people of different races in an area, people will find something else to get out over. It'll be different ethnic groups or sub-ethnic groups. Ethnicity and
yep.
race are both infinitely divisible. If you want to get particular about it, you can find incredibly microscopic deviations in the social and genealogical timelines of any set of groups. So I don't think you can avoid conflict. And my way of arguing for this is that, like, Belarus is not a great country. Look at the countries the world around that are ethnically close to homogenous. They suck. The coolest countries on earth, the ones that have the greatest freedoms, the coolest restaurants, the sweetest babes, are, of course, democracies that have multi-ethnic cultural contributions.
Mm.
we're living it up. And part of that, I think, is just because an open attitude, a humanitarian attitude towards
Mhm.
immigration and people's rights is just one that begets better culture.
Oh, okay. No, I actually agree. I think we were incredibly culturally enriched. Throughout the particularly 1800s, 1900s, early 20th century. By the Irish, Italians, the Polish, the German. That's the kind of cultural enrichment I'm perfectly fine with. But I
Really?
would say not so much as of post 1965. Nah, not at all.
But we're okay with the tens of millions of black people that we brought in?
Well, I mean, I wouldn't say we're okay with them, to be honest, but they're here.
They've made the most substantial and disproportionate cultural contributions. Whether you're talking about American food, American
They
music,
have?
Oh
No
yeah.
way.
Is
Well,
that
of course. Yeah, I mean, they're good at basketball and rapping, and of course, when
Oh
it comes
wait,
to
hold your
the
horses.
blues and rock and roll.
Wait, yeah,
Okay.
wait. Oh, just minor things like the blues, jazz, rock and roll, and hip hop. Just only the past century of popular music, the
Hmm.
world around. Let's not delegitimize that. Not to mention some of the best food in the states, by the way. You go down to Louisiana or New Orleans or whatever, you're going to have yourself a wacky good time. Um, so I guess so. Okay, try to quantify it for me. Like, what's the issue? What's the issue with non-whites?
Oh well, I mean, I don't want to just say non-whites. I mean, of course, I would say probably the biggest racial I'll actually use the word racial tension that we have is going to be mainly with the African Americans, and they have contributed a lot. I mean, they have phenomenal violent crime rates and murder rates. I love it.
Do
Um,
they?
but and just overall dysfunction and
Oh,
on
hold on.
average
Wait,
lower
wait, wait,
IQs, and
wait.
of
Come on.
course,
Oh, wait, hold on.
okay,
Hold
okay.
on. Wait, hold your horses, okay? We'll take your racism apart one at a time. I love the IQ discussions with people who I know I could bat heads against and reduce theirs to a soup-like homogenate. All right. So,
Major.
first of all, um with regards to violent crime rates, a product of the war on drugs. Not hard to see either. You can look at the change in rates of violent crime committed by different racial and ethnic groups, and it's pretty clear that, in line with the fact that the war on drugs was essentially a way for Nixon to deliberately target the hippies and black people, the economic conditions created by the war on drugs then led, naturally, to a sort of gang arms race in the inner city. Inner cities, which were predominantly populated, of course, by black people, because white people had fled after the factory jobs dried up in many of these areas, which is why the Rust Belt has so many of the problems that it does today. Of course, if you look at it on a state-by-state level, actually, it's the red states that have higher rates of firearm homicide per capita than the blue states, despite blue states generally having larger cities, which kind of pulls you away from the whole black crime narrative and makes you think it might have something to do with economic inequality, which is something that we have made an effort to exacerbate in the black population for about as long as they've been here. First through slavery, then through Jim Crow laws, through redlining, and through a lot of stuff, part of which being the drug war. As to the IQ argument, well, position, I guess, that you laid forward, all of the available evidence we have, while not determinative, seems to indicate that the IQ difference between black and white people is pretty much entirely environmental. We haven't closed the gap yet, but it is closing year after year after year. It must be difficult, to be one of those genetics IQ types, when every time the average IQ between black and white people is measured, it's part of a broader trend that closes the gap. And then you have stuff like the Flynn effect, where IQ is so obviously determined by environment that it's difficult to explain the extent to which genetics even come into play. Then you have all those studies that lie about the definition of heritability, hoping that people will be tricked by it, heritability, like if you've got a rich
Well,
daddy,
I
then
know
you
what
being rich is
heritability is.
heritable. Yeah, well then why do the studies and fucking Substack articles on racial IQ differences keep misusing it? Because they think that people
Mhm.
reading them are going to fall for it. Heritability doesn't refer to genetics, it just refers to heritability. So
No, I
anyway,
agree, and I catch people making that mistake all the time. Now, you ended up
white
going over a
people,
lot.
because of
Now,
your low IQs, your
mhm.
tiny
Oh,
fucking
oh,
pea
well, yep.
brain white
Okay, there we
IQs
go.
keep
Low IQ.
misunderstanding I've never met a
Amazing. I
black
know
person
what
who misunderstood
heritability is.
heritability.
Heritability is basically the difference between a population, the variance. For example, with something like IQ, that variance can be explained they will say that will be due to like heritability. It has nothing to do with, oh, it's 49% genetic, i.e. Your genes. I understand the two are completely different things. Now, first of all, when
Thank
it
you
comes
for
to IQ,
rising above the
I am
average
not making
intelligence of your white compatriots.
Now, I am not making the point that, well, I will kind of push back. I mean, I would say there's actually more evidence that would point towards there being a biological reason why there might be an IQ disparity, but I do believe that there are environmental ones. Which one weighs more? I don't know. I don't care.
At the end of the day, it doesn't matter.
But
Because,
hold
no,
on,
no,
hold
no,
on. I let you talk
wait, no,
for a
no, no,
long
wait, no,
time.
wait, hold on. See, we now defer to the inherent imbalance of an AMA. I love to hear people pontificate over how they've suddenly solved the racism question or whatever. But you were talking about why we shouldn't let these folks into the country. Okay? Now I want to be.
People are already in the country.
Yeah, but you were talking about post 1965.
Oh, sure.
Yeah. So
but I was talking about the IQ and criminality of blacks, which are not immigrants. They actually can tie their ancestry to the United States further back than most white people can.
I don't care about ancestry. So look, let's just shorten this because I've done these arguments a couple of times, okay? There's no evidence to indicate that the criminality or the IQ difference is genetic. Literally none, because if there was, then it would have already been touted out and screamed from the mountaintops by every alt-righter online. And secondly, even if all those things were genetic, I would still want them in my country. I am a
amazing,
true and blue border abolitionist.
That still does not dismiss the fact that they have far higher violent crime rates and lower IQs. How they got lower IQs?
Poor people.
Fine.
Should we just kick all the poor people out?
But they have not closed the gap in over 30 fucking years. It's continuous.
That's crazy. The legacy of being a second-class citizen hasn't erased in 30 years. That's insane. Frankly, I'm surprised they didn't get over it in 5. Yeah, the issue I have is that, we waste our time arguing over here. And by the way, like, there's a reason why geneticists are overwhelmingly left-leaning. Every educated discipline generally is. Things keep panning out in our favor when it comes to explanations for these phenomena.
Really.
But no, they really do. Trust me. I've gone over the data.
Who's a lefty? Who's over what he's a lefty, but even he's said, well, the fact that we know that IQs vary between individuals. When you see a group disparity, you cannot rule out that there is some kind of a genetic cause.
Of course, he's a researcher. And I don't even
care which one is the fucking cause.
Is that what you're holding on to? That he can't rule it out? He's a researcher. Of course, he can't rule it out. You could never rule something out. Okay, well, upon this pillar of evidence,
claim. It would be an unfalsifiable claim for me to say, oh, no, it's definitely more genetics, bro. I can't fucking prove that. So you can't prove it's mostly environment.
Well, no, I can't. Hold on. Wait, I can prove it's mostly environment because all of the accumulated data on racial IQ differences has closed so much over so much time and between different populations all over the world through environmental changes. If you read stuff that was written...
copy answer.
Nope. If you read stuff that was written on the Irish... Back in the 1940s, there was a British neurological researcher who wrote on the average IQ of the Irish back in those days to find that the average Irish was, not a surprise, fucking retarded. The IQ was something...
Well, they are fucking retarded.
That's true. Irish. But you know what they are, in addition to being retarded? Higher than 100 average IQ today. But back in the 50s and 40s, it was something closer to 67. So what changed? Well, it turns out environment changed. We see all these examples the world over of environment making the difference. How many examples have we found proving that genetics were the cause of an unbridgeable gap with environmental factors? At this point, none. So it's a waste of a discussion because we don't have the evidence to make a conclusive determination, and every time new evidence comes out, it supports me. So let's talk about what you actually care about, which is that you're afraid of non-white people. Like, I know where these conversations usually go. Yeah. So let's talk about where this conversation actually goes. Who hurt you? Why? And what can we do about it?
Oh no,
Why?
no.
What's the issue?
I love Latina women. Seriously. So and like I grew up in the Southwest, like around a lot of Mexican Americans. It's more or less just that when I see demographic change, it starts to become political. And so basically political parties start to be parties for different demographics.
I hate it when people make race political. It's starting to change a little bit with Mexican Americans,
but that's obviously going to be something that I think is not good for America in the long
I agree. Nobody made race political before 1965 in the Hart-Celler Act. I completely agree. What do you
Oh,
mean?
bullshit.
People,
When they
what do
had
you mean?
segregation,
Dude,
okay.
people make every demographic difference political. Man, woman, coastal, rural America, rural city, flyover states versus like San Francisco, New York, or whatever. People are going to make differences between people, political issues, no matter what. You're going to see that no matter where you go, including Belarus. Well, actually, Belarus is a dictatorship, so actually they don't really have to make an issue of it because nobody's vying for votes. Well, no, even in Belarus. I mean, Putin over in Russia is constantly scapegoating
Well, fuck
minority
Belarus. I don't care
populations.
about these people. I just use it as an example because it's really white. It was a hypothetical. I can
There's
care
going to be
less about that country.
partisan infighting in any country, no matter what. It doesn't
Sure.
matter whether or not it's all white people or whatever. So it seems like this,
Oh,
like,
okay.
well, why are we racist? You know, oh, well, to avoid X. Well, X is here anyway. Okay, well, to avoid Y. Well, Y is here anyway. What's wrong with letting the homies in?
Letting the other home because they're not my homies. They're not even like one of me. What the fuck?
They're my homies.
Okay. Well, I don't think they're fat and bisexual. They're generally brown and push around lawnmowers.
No, there are
fat.
well, hold on. I've had sex with fat and bisexual Latin women, okay? All right? They're all over the place. Fat bisexuals are in Belarus as well. Also, you want to go gut to gut, lad? I lost a lot of weight in 2021. I see those photos you guys are spam posting over in the Politics AMA server, and you know what? I've lost a lot of weight. Been going on a lot of walks. Out here fighting Nazism with my brisk morning walk, okay? I'm going to go gut to gut and crunch you people.
Nazi? You consider me a Nazi?
You haven't said anything about the Jews. I just think you're a white ethnostater. I don't know if you're a Nazi yet.
Yeah.
I'm not. I wouldn't say I'm a little racist, but I'm not like, no, I'm not.
A little.
You're pretty racist. Why lie?
I think that it's fine to have an exclusive place, but I'm not talking about like fucking genociding people or rounding people up.
Okay, but the problem is, again, like, this is the issue that I have with you people. You're retarded. You can't build a civilization off of ethnic exclusion and then go like, okay, but like, don't do any genocide though. Find me how many times has that worked, you know? England was pretty much all white people back in the 1600s. Did they keep that shit in their borders? No. America, apart from the slaves that they owned, was pretty much all white by our current definition up through like the mid 20th century. Did that keep us from doing a racism? No. As long as people believe it's okay to discriminate against one another based on their ethnicity or race, they're going to do monstrous shit. So you are hand-wringing over something that you haven't even described the consequences of yet. Like, what's the issue? To promote an ideology that's been responsible for more death than like virtually any other, with the possible exception of Lysenkoism.
Well, no. So the only thing I would advocate for is, first of all, no more affirmative action, and us. I would say, as a culture, I'd like to see us not use our race as a fucking excuse for why we have, certain outcomes that we have. Now, of course, like,
you're doing that. You're using race to scapegoat. Okay. Wait, you're doing that in this convo. You're saying like the reason America has these internal tensions is because of the existence of people of different races. That's your thing.
No, they're just small part. I think like, liberal NIMBYists, that live in places like San Francisco, New York are kind of like the people I hate the most in this country. Like, I actually don't like them. So, I mean, those are who I would say actually, they make my stomach turn. Black people don't.
I'm happy to hear that. Why can't we all just live and let live? Why can't people?
I do live and let live. I don't fuck with them. I'm not going to go out. I wouldn't harm anybody or tell somebody you can't do that or insult them. I'm not that type of a person. So,
but you want to keep them from entering the country.
No, I didn't say that. Well, I think that our immigration, I do think that we became multi-ethnic in terms of, well, I should say racial, a little too quickly. I think it is something that would have inevitably happened in a place like the United States of America. But other than that, I mean, I'm not one of those people who's calling for an ethno-state anywhere. But I do believe in freedom of association, which would be exclusion.
But this is the problem. Everything is fine. Everything going wrong with this country is rooted in fucking capitalism. Like the NIMBYism you referred to, the economic disparities, the deprivation of the workers' state, the fact that politicians only like vaguely gesture at cultural issues and avoid talking about real economic, like this is like we could be 100% white and they would still do this. I just don't get what the deal is. Like, it doesn't seem to be hurting anyone, like like I always get this like, yeah, with the black people with their, their higher crime rate, their IQs or whatever. Well, you know who else has low IQ and higher crime rate? Poor people in this country. Poor people who would continue to exist in this country if there were no black people. And poor people are more likely to commit crime. And poor people are more likely to have a lower IQ. And those poor people tend to be black nowadays because we've displaced economic inequality onto certain racial archetypes because it's easier to justify racism when you're doing it through economics by proxy. But none of this gets solved when black people are gone. You're just falling for the mantra of the 20th century robber barons, you know? Oh, all of these issues are exacerbated by the blacks coming into our cities, you know? They come to take our jobs, they exacerbate the issues. We could focus on the real issues were only we not without them. But capitalism persists in their presence or absence. We must unite against the greater threat.
Oh, but here, see, and this is right. You've never talked to me before, but I actually believe in something kind of that most right wingers don't believe in. But I believe in a shit ton of funding and support for poor people, especially when they're kids, their most malleable years, where you have to set them up. And of course, I would be willing to spend a whole lot of money on wraparound services because, school funding. If you increase a lot in school funding, like the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation ended up figuring this out, and that's why they lowered the amount of donations they were giving to schools, is because, well, when it comes to teachers' pay and actually spending on the school itself, it's not even a 10% increase, in the I don't know how they were measuring it, but the outcome of the educations, it almost all of it came from outside of the home, which makes
That's
sense
totally
because a lot of
true.
poor parents are going to be working and they're going to be unsupervised, and unsupervised kids do really stupid shit. And I
agree.
believe
We
that
need socialism.
investing in them early is better, not only for them, but for society. So we don't have to deal with them as criminals. We don't have to spend money on the police officers, the prisons. We can have productive people later in life. So I'm not like somebody who's writing these people off. Like I at the end of the day, Black or African Americans are American. We have to, we all have an obligation to do the best for everybody. That's my opinion.
No,
I don't have
I
like
agree.
an ethno-statist view for this.
Well, I mean, you do, at least at a micro level, but I'm glad you agree on that in some respects. Fuck. We should probably move on. I think this has expanded beyond the scope of an AMA. I enjoyed the conversation, though. I appreciate you coming on to talk with me.
You should,
Thank you, Pepe.
I love you.
It's interesting. It's interesting that we're about to go to. So we went from one ethnocidal, and the next person up is Zionist Jules. So I guess we are going to talk about the nation that is attempting to build an ethnocide. It seems like.
Just to warn you, by the way, I've got half an hour left.
Sure. Okay, I'll get in as many as possible. And guys, if I call you up, just be aware that that's the time limit we're working with. Okay, so just like be reasonable.
All right, let's hit it.
Zionist, you there?
Yes, I am here. I apologize. I was busy kicking out some Palestinians.
That's what I thought you were doing.
Yeah, I was, and I'm quite proud of that because, self-defense, yada, yada. So I have a question for you, Mr. Vaush.
Yeah.
And by the way, congratulations on your weight loss. You look very good, very fantastic.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
My question to you is, what is your opinion on the state of Israel? And why is it the best country in the world? Right next to America.
It's pretty contentious, actually, but I don't actually think that Israel is the best country in the world. I think it might be quite a bit further down the list.
Okay, I'd like to hear your reasons.
We can drop the pretense. What of my positions do you disagree with?
I'm going to assume a lot because, unfortunately, I don't watch a lot of your content. But I'm going to assume that you don't like Israel because of something like the genocide, pushing the Palestinian people out, yada, yada. Stuff.
It's true. I don't like that.
Okay. So, from your perspective, you think that when the Israeli people inherited that land from the previous legal owners, which were the United Kingdom, worked with the UN to create a resolution to create the state of Israel, and we, the Jews, the Israelis, decided, you know what, we're going to have a small subset of the Middle East while we're surrounded by all these Muslims, right? We wanted a small, tiny utopia of our own, and these people decided, we can't have Jews on this land. We got to do something about it. And we self-defended.
Do you think you might be narrativizing a little bit?
Not twice, not thrice, not even 4 times, 5 times in a row successfully, right? And we bled for that land. So why do you think that, when these people are, I know the rhetoric, the cope and the seethe and the cry, like, oh my God, you're killing the Palestinian kids. When in fact, we're just trying to mind our own business, grow our economy.
How long will this go on? Are you masturbating to
Oh,
the
yeah, no,
sound of your own
sorry,
voice? Because
yeah,
the
yeah,
audio on our end
sure.
is not good enough for us to really appreciate the sultry dulcet. Okay, so I don't know why you would begin a conversation when talking to a person who opposes colonialism by positively framing the creation of Israel by saying that it emerged from UK-owned territory in the Middle East, as though the presence of the British in the Middle East has not been historically up there with like some of the worst things to have ever happened in all of history. But yeah, like leaving aside all the narrativization, the story is pretty simple. No matter what legal justifications there were for the creation of the modern state of Israel, it still entailed the displacement of hundreds of thousands of Palestinians who have been there for a super duper extra long time. It was very bad. They had to move. A lot of people died. It wasn't great. They had to eke out a ramshackle existence in the shadow of the ever-growing Israel, funded and built and constructed as America's premier military base. And over time, Israel has consistently acted in violation of international law and UN, member state condemnation to slowly, painfully kill off the Palestinians.
So hold
This
on,
has been
you were
done.
talking about.
Wait, hold on. This has been
All right, all
done
right.
in a number of ways.
Wait, but
Obviously, the most obvious example would be the settler colonialism shit with the Israelis will move into like an area outside their walls, and then like Israeli military detachments will be sent to defend them when there's inevitably ethnic conflict because those people are looking to stir up shit, and then the walls get moved out further and further. That's why Israel keeps expanding. There's the fact that water is being kept from the people of Gaza, so that they're being deliberately sort of choked out of provisions. There's the fact that Netanyahu and other Israeli officials have deliberately orchestrated a set of political conditions which would prevent Palestine from ever achieving any kind of liberation by deliberately funding and propagating Hamas as a political extremist group, because political extremism from the Palestinians gives Israel pretext to continue their expansion and justification, which is why you guys cry bully so fucking hard when you're one of the most militarily advanced states in the world. And every once in a while, a Palestinian like child will send a bottle rocket over the border, and you guys will cry about it as you like demolish another city block. Yeah, it's a pretty pathetic behavior. There's not really a justification for any of this, by the way. The only justification a Zionist can pull, the only pretext you can muster, is dishonesty and this cringy, bloviating, oh haha, isn't it based in Chad when we commit human rights violations? But I have no respect for you. You're a piece of shit and you're scum, and nothing you say can take away from that. Talk over me now, will you? Because I'm getting mean now, because your feelings might get hurt. There's nothing funny about like, haha, I'm ironically in favor of genocide. What the fuck is wrong with you? What makes people online like this?
Would you like to speak more? I just have like a few things to say and then I'm out because
sure. The audio quality is a bit crap, but I can understand you, so it's more of an aesthetic thing. But sure, go for it.
Okay, so I understand that from your perspective, this is all morally wrong. This is all terrible. I just don't. I don't understand why you would not respect the UN resolution when it comes to
don't care. UN resolutions can be bad.
Okay, well, you have more to say, or can I just say my part? And then
no, I have more to say. UN resolutions can be bad. Obviously, right. Just because a legal body designated something does not mean I'm going to agree with that legal body.
So you take stances depending on what's convenient for you, but at the end of the day,
wait, what? Wait, I agree with some laws but disagree with others. Wait, hold on. You're correct. I do take stances that agree with me. That is true. I am capable of agreeing with some things but disagreeing with others. What the fuck is wrong with your brain? I know what happened here. A Hamas rocket hit your head.
Wait, hold on. Hold on. You seem to have quite the fidelity for UN laws when it comes to your side of your argument, right? But the moment it's respecting, I don't know, any UN resolution when it comes to the state of Israel, you're like, no, these are genociders.
Is this really your best argument? The UN? Is this seriously your best argument? The UN said so 70 years ago. A Hamas rocket hit your head. The explosive payload was just enough to concuss you, but not enough to kill you, and that's why you hate them now.
No. So you
Okay,
have to
so
understand.
outside of me agreeing with some things sometimes, but disagreeing with other things sometimes, what's the next banger you're going to throw at me? Did a Palestinian kid look extra menacing?
The state of Israel was tiny. The Arab League decided to gang up on Israel. We protected ourselves, and then what happened?
We protected you. Wait,
Hold
don't
on. Let me
get
just.
don't get arrogant. We
Please, let me
protected
just finish
you.
my point.
Without American military adventurism, you
No,
guys
that's
would
not
be a
true.
smoking crater,
That's
okay?
not true.
Yes.
That's not
Oh,
true.
yes, it is. Oh, yes, it is. Oh,
There
yeah.
is no
You think
proof in the
you
first war that Israel got help from the United States. This is not true. Second of all, the fact that we protected that land with our blood, right? Now the Palestinians compensate because they're on the losing
with your
side.
blood? Wait. Who cares? Wait. The issue at hand here, they should have won. Like, you guys came in there and you immediately tried to genocide the existing population you're replacing. Israel is a cancer.
They declared war on us. They declared war on us. They initiated.
Oh, yeah, they initiated. I know. It didn't begin with you displacing hundreds of thousands of them. You're such a fucking crybaby, dude. Oh, yeah, we enlisted the help of some of the most powerful imperial countries on the planet to justify our annexation of a territory and the displacement of an ethnic minority there. Hundreds of thousands of people forced to leave their homes. And then you cry that they're mad about it. And then you cry when using American guns, using American money, you then continue to defend yourself from all the neighboring countries that fucking hate you. You guys are fucking pathetic. No, you're pathetic. Your biggest enemy is Palestinian children with rocks, and you cry about it more than we did about 9/11.
And genocide. And the moment the Israeli people do it, the moment the Jewish people do it, and they're not even
the moment the Israeli people do it, the genocide? Wait, did everyone else just hear it? Did everyone else just hear him say that? He's like, they were escaping genocide, but the moment the Israelis do a genocide, everyone gets mad at us. Yeah! I just heard you say that. I may have been talking over you, but I heard it. Yeah, I will get mad at you when you do the Holocaust 2 Electric Boogaloo.
Hey, Vaush, are you LGBTQ? Are you LGBT? Did you know that Palestinians, they literally kill
That's
LGBTQ
crazy,
people outside,
dude.
right?
I agree. We should just nuke 2/3 of the world because they also don't support LGBT rights. Dude, all of your arguments are literally like fucking neoliberal like meme bait here. Do you seriously believe any of the shit you're saying, or are you genuinely stupid? I know this isn't your first rodeo because your ass is red because you keep falling off the fucking bowl. You stupid piece of shit. How can you agree with one UN resolution but disagree with another UN resolution? How can you disagree with genocide when we do it?
Let's go, babies.
How can you disagree with genocide? The people we're genociding don't like gay people. How could... Dude, you guys' biggest enemy are fucking children with rocks, and you still cry more about it than we did about 9/11. Go piss yourself. Fuck off. Get this guy out of here.
Yeah, I feel like I should have ended that earlier, but it was too good. Yeah, genocidal ethnostates are bad guys, like obviously.
Yeah, I love people who wander into the call like, I heard you're against the based genocide I'm in favor of. Jesus fucking Christ. The internet is a fucking cancer, dude. Holy shit. None of these people would survive 5 seconds like talking to another human being in person. Holy shit. I mean, admittedly, I wouldn't either, but mostly because I'm ADHD riddled. I'd want to be playing with my phone, but, you know, for entirely different reasons. Oh, God.